Hello, Malma Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila and Vietnam. Hello, Eliana.
Hi, I'm Eliana Faith Sebastian from EBC Vietnam Bureau, giving you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines.
The Philippines.
President Duterte said the work of the country's long-established democracy will certainly continue despite the nearing end of his six-year term next year.
Secretary of Foreign Affairs Teodoro L. Locsin Jr. and French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian tackled regional and bilateral issues as they met for the first time on December 11 in Liverpool, UK.
And the Philippines has already administered 95,982,996 of the doses of the coronavirus vaccine nationwide, with 40,693,000 plus Filipinos now fully protected against the dreaded disease.
Garuda Indonesia has entered a court-supervised restructuring process as the debt-ridden airline tries to rescue itself from bankruptcy.
First in our news, President Duterte said the work of the country's long-established democracy will certainly continue despite the nearing end of his six-year term next year. In his intervention at the Summit for Democracy, organized by the United States, President Duterte said freedom of expression and of the press in the country are fully enjoyed, while regular transfer of power is guaranteed through free and honest elections. Let's listen in.
The Philippines was the first republic in Asia and the inspiration of all Asian struggles for independence. Today, we have a vibrant democracy and an open and diverse society. Freedom of expression and of the press are fully enjoyed, and the regular transfer of power is guaranteed through free and honest elections. While we are the oldest democracy in Asia, our system of governance is not perfect. Corruption, poverty, and peace and other issues have always been and continue to be our major challenges. They weaken our institutions and deprive many Filipinos of democratic agencies. When I was elected president, I pledged meaningful change. I aspired for a government that really works for the Filipino people, especially the poor and the marginalized. Hard but necessary reforms needed to be made. Deep wounds of divisions needed to be healed, and stark inequalities needed to be redressed. All difficult undertakings, but we did what we could and should. My government also sought to broaden democratic participation through federalism, but my constitutional project did not get Congress support. So be it. I respect the separation of powers vital to democracy.
Malacanang said on Friday, December 10, that the President's invitation and participation on the Summit of Democracy is in recognition of the existing democracy in the country.
Multiple countries from ASEAN attended meetings on the Joint Foreign Ministers Summit with the G7 in Liverpool held on December 11 to 12. At the summit, Joseph Borrell, EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs Security Policy, said China represents today's strategic and ideological challenge. He said free navigation in the South China Sea is important to them. Let's listen in.
Have also talked about China. China represents today a challenge, a strategic and ideological challenge. And they also have to be vigilant, gathering our forces in order to ensure, for example, the freedom of navigation in the South China Sea. where 40% of the exports of the European Union is passing by these waters. For us, to keep free navigation of this water is very much important. This part of the world is the aorta vein of the economics of Europe.
Ministers from Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, and the Philippines have been invited to the summit. Discussions focus key multilateral issues, including post-COVID-19 economic development, global vaccine equity, and human rights. Foreign ministers from Australia and the Republic of Korea also joined discussions.
Thank you.
In a related news, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Teodoro L. Locsin Jr. and French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian tackled regional and bilateral issues as they met for the first time on December 11 in Liverpool, the United Kingdom. Both officials underscored the importance of ASEAN-EU cooperation in addressing new and existing global concerns, including climate change and maritime security. Foreign Minister Le Drian previously stated that the Indo-Pacific region will be a priority for France when it assumes the presidency of the European Union next year, and as the Philippines and France begin preparations to celebrate the 75th anniversary of their diplomatic relations next year, the two foreign ministers talked about opportunities to deepen bilateral cooperation in the fields of defense, maritime security and safety, and pandemic response, among others. Now, France pledged to continue its support for the Philippines vaccination program. Some 1.6 million AstraZeneca vaccines have been delivered to the Philippines via the COVAX facility, the first shipment of the 5.85 million vaccine doses pledged by France for the Philippines. Secretary Locsin is in Liverpool now to participate in the G7 ASEAN Foreign and Development Ministers meeting held December 12.
Cambodian leader Hun Sen ordered the country's military to destroy any U.S. weaponry or dump it in warehouses on Friday after Washington imposed an arms embargo over human rights concerns and Phnom Penh's close ties with China. The U.S. on Wednesday imposed an arms embargo on Cambodia, citing concerns about human rights and corruption in the Southeast Asian nation, as well as China's activities there. The actions taken by the U.S. State and Commerce Departments aim to restrict access to defense articles and defense services by Cambodia's military and intelligence agencies, according to a statement. But Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen downplayed the quality of U.S. weapons and equipment on Friday. The Prime Minister said, quote, "The U.S. arms embargo is a warning message to the next generation of Cambodians who led the government that if they want an independent defense sector, please don't use U.S. weapons. A lot of those who use U.S. arms lost wars," the Cambodian strongman said, citing Afghanistan. In November, Washington sanctioned two Cambodian officials for corruption allegations linked to a U.S.-funded naval base. Cambodia's longtime leader is one of China's closest partners in Asia, and his government has been dismantling facilities at the Ream base that were built partly with American money and hosted to U.S. exercises. The Sihanoukville base on the Gulf of Thailand has been a running sore in U.S.-Cambodia relations in recent years, with Washington suspecting it is being converted for use by China. Hun Sen has repeatedly denied his country would host the Chinese military at the base.
A citizen of Myanmar on Friday pleaded guilty in a plot to attack or kill the country's pro-democracy UN ambassador, who has refused junta orders to quit, according to U.S. officials. In August, Yi Yen Zhao, a resident of New York in his early 20s, conspired with two others to force Ambassador Kyaw Mo-tun to resign, or if he refused, to kill him, according to prosecutors. Zhao agreed to pay $5,000 for the attack, which was foiled by U.S. investigators. Zhao admitted in court that he participated in a plot to injure or kill Myanmar's ambassador to the United Nations in a planned attack that was to take place on American soil, according to U.S. Attorney Damian Williams in a statement. Mr. Zhao is due to be sentenced in May, and he faces up to 5 years in prison. It remained unclear, though, what, if any, connection the suspect had with the military junta, which on February 1 overthrew the elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi in the country earlier known as Burma. Ambassador Tun, chosen by the now jailed Suu Kyi, has remained in office since the coup, asking that the UN let him keep his post.
The Philippine National Police, or PNP, will assist the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, in the conduct of mock polls on December 29, allowing the force to observe the actual process flow for May 2022 elections. In a statement Sunday, PNP Chief General Leonardo Carlos said the activity would help them determine and evaluate the strategic plan for the deployment of personnel. He said, "We will be waiting for the official advisory from the COMELEC regarding the planned mock elections, but definitely the PNP is willing to extend assistance for this activity." Under the Omnibus Election Code, the PNP personnel are not allowed to get inside the different voting precincts, but are assigned to maintain peace and order in the vicinity. The PNP will also be tasked to secure the transportation of ballots and other election paraphernalia. The mock polls, which will be held in several places in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, would be an end-to-end demonstration of the whole process.
In other news, more than 10 months since Myanmar's military seized power, the country's human rights situation is deepening on an unprecedented scale, according to the UN Rights Office. UNHCR has warned. In a strongly worded statement on Friday, the Rights Office said that it was appalled by the alarming escalation of grave human rights abuses in the country. These include 11 people being killed and burned to death by security forces in the last week, and protesters being rammed by a military vehicle while exercising their right to peaceful assembly. In addition, serious violations are reported daily of the rights to life, liberty and security of person, the prohibition against torture, the right to a fair trial, and freedom of expression, according to OHCHR spokesperson Rupert Colville. In a direct message to the people of Myanmar to mark Human Rights Day on December 10, Mr. Colville heralded their courage, resilience, and ongoing opposition to the coup with a universal silent protest. Since the coup on February 1, Myanmar state forces have repeatedly failed to respect their obligations to protect the country's people, according to OHCHR, which said that more than 1,300 people have lost their lives and at least 10,600 more have been detained.
Now to Vietnam, a popular Vietnamese tourist city has pledged to phase out selling cat and dog meat. Officials said Friday, a first in a nation where some consider the animals a delicacy. An estimated 5 million canines are consumed every year in Vietnam, the second highest in the world behind China, with some believing eating the meat can help dispel bad luck. Authorities in Hoi An, a historic trading port and World Heritage Site, signed a deal with animal rights group Four Paws International, promising to phase out sales and consumption of cat and dog meat. Vice City Mayor Nguyen Te Hung said, "We want to help promote animal welfare through rabies eradication, phasing out the dog and cat meat trade, and making the city a premier destination for tourism." Julie Sanders from Four Paws International said it was a watershed moment that might set an example for other places in Vietnam. A national poll commissioned by the animal rights group this year found only an estimated 6.3% of 600 Vietnamese surveyed consume the four-pawed creatures, with 88% supporting a ban.
Now, this is the second such penalty given to a foreigner within a week in the communist country, and the second death sentence handed to a Thai woman in 14 months. A People's Court judge in Ho Chi Minh City, reflecting enforcement of some of the toughest drug laws in the world, sentenced Suracha Chaimongkol to death after she was caught carrying 2 kilograms of cocaine. The Thanh Minh Youth newspaper said the drugs were discovered hidden inside 2 photograph albums when the 31-year-old graduate landed at Ho Chi Minh City's airport in October last year after taking a flight from Brazil. And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. We'll be right back.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba, sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. The Omicron coronavirus variant is more transmissible than the Delta strain and reduces vaccine efficacy, but causes less severe symptoms, according to early data, the World Health Organization says. The WHO says Omicron has spread to 63 countries as of December 9. Faster transmission has been noted in South Africa, where Delta is less prevalent, and in Britain, where Delta is the dominant strain. But it stressed that a lack of data meant it could not say if Omicron's rate of transmission was because it was less prone to immune responses, higher transmissibility, or a combination of both. The WHO said in a technical brief that early evidence suggests Omicron causes a reduction in vaccine efficacy against infection and transmission. South Africa reported Omicron to the WHO on November 24. Vaccine manufacturers Pfizer, BioNTech last week said 3 doses of their jabs were still effective against Omicron.
The Philippines has already administered 95,982,996 doses of COVID-19 vaccine nationwide, with 40,693,310 Filipinos now fully protected against coronavirus disease. Data from the National COVID-19 Vaccination Dashboard as of December 10 also showed that 54,553,456 doses were used as first shots, while 736,230 were for booster or additional shots. The government targets to complete the 2 primary doses of at least 54 million adult Filipinos, at least 80% of children aged 12 to 17 years old, and booster shots for 1.6 million healthcare workers by the end of the year to achieve population protection. Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr., National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer, earlier said the government will aim to increase the number of fully vaccinated Filipinos up to 77 million to the end of first quarter next year and up to 90 million by the second quarter.
Hong Kong authorities have banned Cathay Pacific flights from Ho Chi Minh City for 2 weeks starting December 10 after 3 passengers on a flight tested positive for COVID-19. 2 women, 27 and 48, and a man, 57, arrived in Hong Kong last Wednesday from the Vietnamese city, the Standard newspaper reported, quoting a source from the Island Center for Health Protection. The women had received 2 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine in Vietnam, and the man had received 2 doses of BioNTech in Hong Kong. They had the L452R mutant strain found in the Delta variant, but no symptoms, according to the paper. Vietnam is now listed as a medium-risk area under Hong Kong's 5-tier system for overseas COVID threats. This means fully vaccinated travelers are quarantined for 7 days on arrival at an approved hotel and must furnish a vaccination certificate and negative PCR test. Hong Kong has recorded at least 5 Omicron cases, while Vietnam has not detected any so far. However, Vietnam is seeing a steady rise in Delta infections.
Back here in the country, the Department of Health and the National Task Force, or NTF, against COVID-19 said they are continuously ensuring enough supplies of syringes, both 0.3 ml syringes or micro syringes that are compatible for the Pfizer vaccine and the 0.5 ml auto-disable or AD syringes for all other brands. The 2 agencies also said the 2 batches of procurement through the United Nations Children's Fund, or UNICEF, have been undertaken, with the first batch of 8 million 0.3 ml syringes worth 29.1 million pesos completed in October and paid for by 2020 savings. The second batch, financed through the Asian Development Bank, consisted of 44 million syringes, amounting to about 152.6 million pesos, 4 million this month, and the balance during the first quarter of next year due to global supply shortage. Now to date, 3,653,000 syringes out of the 4 million have been delivered, and the rest expected this week. The 0.3 syringes of the 2 batches cost around 3 pesos and 25 centavos per piece, or that's about 6.5 cents, including the cost for logistics. Secretary Vince Dizon, presidential advisor on COVID-19 response, said in a news release that, quote, even with the delays in delivery of micro syringes, they made sure that they can still administer the Pfizer vaccines that they procured by using tuberculin syringes. And the government, local government units, and the private sector are working hard to increase their vaccine coverage to protect more Filipinos against COVID-19. He said through the Bayanihan cooperation, they achieved 2.82 million jabs in 1 day.
A low-pressure area outside the Philippine area of responsibility, southeast of Palau, has developed into tropical depression, Pag-asa said on Sunday, December 12. In its latest weather bulletin, the Weather Bureau reported the center of the tropical depression was estimated at 2,095 kilometers east of Mindanao, outside the PAR as of 10 a.m. It has a maximum sustained winds of 45 kilometers per hour near the center, with gustiness up to 55 kilometers per hour, with its present movement almost stationary, it said. The tropical depression is forecast to move generally west-northwestward over the next 3 days and may enter the Philippine area of responsibility on Tuesday, the Pag-asa said. Once inside the PAR, the domestic name Odette will be assigned to this tropical cyclone. It added that the tropical cyclone will begin to move westward and may make landfall over the eastern Visayas Caraga area by Wednesday evening or Thursday morning. The tropical depression is forecast to gradually intensify and may reach tropical storm category within the next 24 hours.
In other news, Miss India Harnaz Sandhu was crowned Miss Universe in the Israeli city of Eilat early Monday today. The Philippines Miss Universe candidate Beatriz Luigi Gomez made it to the top 5, but failed to make it to the top 3 of the prestigious pageant being held in Israel today, or December 13, Philippine time. Gomez was asked about mandating vaccine passports and said she was all for it in the interest of public health. South Africa's Lalela Miss Wayne, India's Harnaz Sandhu, and Paraguay's Nadia Ferreira were the Miss Universe candidates who made it to the top 3. Gomez and Miss Colombia's Valeria Maria Ayos Bosa were in the beauty pageant's top 5. The 70th Miss Universe pageant was held at Universe Dome, Port of Eliat, South District, Israel. The previous Miss Universe, Andrea Meza of Mexico, crowned the successor at the end of the event. The competition featured the return of Steve Harvey as host.
ASEAN in Focus will be back after a short break.
Sa kabila ng patuloy na pagbaba ng alert level sa Metro Manila,
sa gitna ng kabi-kabilang paalala sa mga magulang o guardian.
Matapos ang maghapong paghihintay,
mas matalas na pagtingin sa mga nangungunang balita.
Magdodoble kayo daw ngayon ang senador para ipakilala.
Tiniyak ng mga opisyal na mayroon silang sapat na supply ng bakuna na standby.
Magmamatyag at magiging mapanuri.
Maaaring magpa-drug test ang sinuman sa alinmang mga testing center.
Sa kaliwat ka ng batikos ng kanyang mga kritiko.
Mata ng Agila. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 6 hanggang alas 8 ng gabi. Dito lang sa Net 25.
Welcome back. Garuda Indonesia has entered a court-supervised restructuring process as the debt-ridden airline tries to rescue itself from bankruptcy. The new attempt to save the Indonesian flag carrier began after a Jakarta court granted a debt petition filed against the airline by one of its creditors Thursday. The ruling gave Garuda and its creditors 45 days to submit a debt restructuring proposal. The period can be extended by up to 270 days. Garuda said the court's suspension of debt payment obligations would give it a solid framework to complete negotiations for the debt restructuring process. The decision gives us 45 days to submit a composition plan that includes the restructuring of Garuda's business obligations to creditors. Garuda President CEO Irfan Setiaputra said in a statement. He added that the airline would ensure all flight operations continue as normal during the restructure. Garuda, 60% owned by the state, has suffered massive losses during the COVID-19 pandemic. It posted a net loss of $2.4 billion last year and another net loss of nearly $1.7 billion from January to September this year. The airline said in June it had grounded two-thirds of its fleet of 142 jets due to travel restrictions and declining demand. In October last year, it announced it would lay off 700 employees, about 10% of its workforce, while many others have been on unpaid leave.
To other news now, the Department of Trade and Industry Philippine Secretary Ramon Lopez discussed the Global Business Forum ASEAN 2021 and the bilateral relations with the United Arab Emirates at the Expo 2020 Dubai. Let's listen in.
Well, this is a very important event as far as we're concerned because we are now in the process of trying to strengthen our business relation, establish stronger trade, investment, economic ties with UAE. And we believe also in the progress that Dubai is making. We're part of an active part of Dubai Expo. We have a very beautiful Philippine pavilion. I am also tasked as the Commissioner General of the pavilion. And at the same time, on the side, we're fortunate to meet my counterpart, the Minister of Foreign Trade, to discuss possible partnership in terms of establishing a joint commission on economic and trade cooperation between Philippines and UAE. So it's a bilateral thing that will lead up, hopefully, to some kind of a comprehensive economic partnership agreement down the road.
Under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE and the ruler of Dubai, hosted the Expo 2020 Dubai GBF ASEAN open dialogue between leaders from Dubai and the ASEAN region in business, government, and finance. Back in December 2021, the Dubai Chamber of Commerce launched the GBF ASEAN to push the boundaries of inter-regional trade between Dubai and Southeast Asia and to explore the changing dynamics, examine opportunities, and to increase business and investment.
Asia stocks rose in early Monday trade following a record-smashing lead from Wall Street. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index was up 1.03%, while Tokyo's benchmark Nikkei 225 Index rose 1.09%. Friday's gains on Wall Street were the broad-based S&P 500 piled on more than 0.9% to finish at 4,712.02, eclipsing a record from last month, and came despite the consumer price index jumping 6.8% in November. Such a rise in inflation would suggest a sooner rather than later tapering in the U.S. Federal Reserve's ultra-loose monetary policy, a change markets have been nervously awaiting for months. Fed Chair Jerome Powell have already signaled plans to accelerate the tapering of stimulus payments. Many analysts expect the central bank to hike interest rates at least twice in 2022. Powell will update the markets this week following a two-day policy meeting. But traders took the data in stride, in part because inflation was largely expected. In Asia, Monday, Singapore, Seoul, and Taipei and Wellington were marginally up. Shanghai also rose.
And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. Eliana and I will be back right after this.
Next week, sa Tara, ating pasyalan.
Dahil napakalaki ng lalawigan ng Quezon, napakarami pang magagandang destinasyon dito ang hindi pa natin napapasyalan. At marami pang pagkain ang hindi pa natin natitikman. Kaya hindi pa rin natatapos ang ating pamamasyal. Tara! Ating pasyalan ang bayan na nasa pinakadulong bahagi ng Quezon, ang San Andres.
Lahat ng yan at iba pa, dito lang sa Tara, ating pasyalan.
Mouth-to-mouth resuscitation?
Pag-break na daw po si Martin sa atin.
Kainan, hindi ko kailangan makita kasi maalala na kita.
Kuya, may magnanakaw doon! Bilisan mo! Pulis! Tulungan mo na. Pulis!
Ka nang tumakbo?
Bakit mo pinipigilan?
Ang ganda mo kasi.
Ang inyong pinakabagong gadget show.
Dito sa Net 25.
Walang iba kundi ang Quezon City!
Echo Ortelesa Quinola shares with us the story of a Filipino art toy creator in Papua New Guinea, who says the inspirations behind his masterpieces Astro and October are his co-art toy creators, his daily experiences, and his family. Echo?
A Filipino art toy maker is presently making a big name in the so-called designer's toy industry here in Papua New Guinea. Nelson Hokson, a graphic artist and a music enthusiast, shares with us his passion in creating art toys. These self-made toys are typically in a very limited edition, making them highly valuable collector's items. Nelson normally uses wood, vinyl metal, latex, paints, and other materials for designing his creations. He also makes use of his random sketches to come up with his original creative design.
Most of my art toys are basically comes from random thoughts, and for my Astro, it was a random sketch. It became like my outlet for my feelings, like when I get frustrated or I feel happy, convert it into an Astro and sometimes post it into social media. I decided to why not make it an art toy so everyone can have a piece of my Astro.
Inspired by his co-designers and with his daily experience and inspiration from his own family, Nelson was able to do collaborative works with other toy artists. His well-known masterpieces are Astro, an astronaut who was asked to lead a group of explorers to go to outer space, as well as his latest creation, October, named after making the design in October with a bear as the picture concept.
My inspirations are mostly my co-toy designers and sometimes daily experiences, and also my family. October just came into my mind, then it's September is going to end and I need something to post. I just play with words and then created the character out of that.
Transforming artworks into figurines are emerging to become another interesting avenue in the artistic scene. With these collectibles gaining popularity in these times, budding artists must give this a try. Eko Hortaleza Quinola, Oceania at a Glance, Eagle News.
Simultaneous blood donation held in Thailand and in Vietnam. Here's Jazz Diana from Bangkok, Thailand, and Charlene Navaja from Hanoi, Vietnam.
A simultaneous blood donation event held in Bangkok, Thailand and in Hanoi, Vietnam was joined by members of Iglesia Ni Cristo to heed the call of health authorities in both countries to donate blood and address the supply shortage brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. Here in Bangkok, Thailand, blood donors arrive in Thai Red Cross with high hopes of extending help.
According to Ms. Siralak Piakuntod, the chief of the National Blood Center based in Nakhon Ratchasima, they are only able to supply only 30% of the amount requested by hospitals, compared to the 70 to 80% before the outbreak of the pandemic. The scarcity of supply, she added, is due to the disease control restrictions, as well as from the work-from-home setup of the majority of employees and students. Ms. Siralak also stated that if this situation continues much longer, lives could be in danger, particularly those patients with blood-related diseases who are in need of 1 to 2 units every 3 to 4 weeks, as well as those patients who will undergo surgery. In the end of her speech, she encourages everyone who are able to donate blood and help save lives. Due to the stated reasons, the Church, with the help of the CMDPS, Christian Medical, Dental, and Paramedical Society, immediately decided to take action and organize this event to heed the call of the government.
So first of all, I prepared for this event by getting enough sleep and also eating a full meal and drinking lots of water as stated by Red Cross. And I am very happy because this is my second time and it always feels good to be donating because I feel like I can be helping lots of people through this activity. And I also thank Red Cross for accommodating us, and also big thanks to the church administration for launching activities like this. And I promise that I will continue to remain united in all the future endeavors that they will launch.
Meanwhile, in Hanoi, Vietnam, our ABC correspondent Charlene Navaja is also in the blood donation event. Tell us more, Charlene.
A severe shortage of blood supply was announced by the National Institute of Hematology and Blood Transfusion here in Hanoi, Vietnam, in which the supply is enough for the use in the next few days due to the restrictions imposed to curb the spread of COVID-19. Now that health protocols have been eased, members of Iglesia Ni Cristo here in Hanoi joined the blood donation program called Volunteer Heart 2021 in Hoan Kiem District Medical Center.
I'm here in Hanoi at 26 Lương Ngọc Quyến, Tây Hồ, Hanoi. There is a blood donation festival here called Ra Khơi in Vietnamese. It held from 10 December to 11 December. So the festival is for blood donors who is from Vietnam and also from other countries.
The event turned out well. The staff were very accommodating and they implement health protocols carefully, such as social distancing, wearing masks, and medical screening before the blood donation.
I'm very thankful to the church administration as well through Bible study in which they are encouraging people to do such things, especially unity and also brotherhood, whoever you are or wherever you are. So this one is a very good and very wonderful thing for me to give some donations, just like this blood donation to other people here in Vietnam.
God's help and guidance of the church administration, we had a very successful simultaneous blood donation activity in Thailand and in Vietnam. All safety protocols were adhered and we were able to achieve our goal in terms of blood donation. The Church of Christ will not stop doing these activities, no matter what the situation is around the world, because we are doing this first and foremost to fulfill our God-given duty to love our fellow men. To the officers and members of the church who took the time and effort to be here, you know that not one of your sacrifices will be in vain. Our Almighty God will remember your good work and you will receive blessings from Him. With that being said, we commend all your efforts and may we all continue to unite in all other church activities. To all our fellow men, especially to our kababayans, we hope everyone is safe wherever you are. Should you have the opportunity, you're always welcome to join us in these activities, and together we can make a difference in the lives of our fellow men who are in need of our services. We fully recognize that this will not be possible without the guidance of the church administration. Thank you so much po. Our dear Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, your constant love and dedication to your duty inspires us to continue to serve our Almighty God. It is our promise po to always be united with you in all the activities in the church for our Lord God's glory.
Today's affairs show the strong Christian spirit of the Iglesia Ni Cristo members, their willingness to extend help to their fellow men, especially those who need medical attention. Moreover, their preparedness to immediately respond with no hesitation to the call of the church administration and in the need of the society. The volunteers would go back to their homes happily knowing that their small act of kindness can save lives and create many smiles.
Reporting from Hanoi, Vietnam, I am Charlene Navaja.
Reporting from Bangkok, Thailand, this is Justiona. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Jazz and Charlene, for that coverage of the blood donation drive there in Thailand and Vietnam. And also a special shout out to Brother Willen Regalado, always for supporting ASEAN in Focus. Thank you so much also, Eliana, for joining me today and keeping me company here on ASEAN in Focus.
Thank you so much, Alma. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Eliana Faith Sebastian from EBC Vietnam Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
And we'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same place. You're on ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.